there's some parts of spirituality that I think are quite toxic at the moment, and I think New Age spirituality especially there's a few things that need to be talked about. I haven't made a video about this before, so stick around and watch this. I think the problem with New Age spirituality is that it's kind of toxic, and it's promoting the right thing. I think it's half right and half wrong, and this is why it's so hard sometimes to point it out, because it's almost like there's truths mixed in with deceptions or misunderstandings. This obviously makes it hard to be able to say concretely, like, this is wrong, this is right, because a lot of these teachings are mixed in, half truth, half lie. So by the way, I'm Steph. I teach people how to expand their consciousness and raise their vibrations. I have a free video training, link is in the description, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this. Okay, so there's three reasons, right? There's three main reasons why I think New Age spirituality can be toxic. Not all of it, but some of it, and especially these things when I say them, you'll be able to instantly start noticing them yourself very easily. The first one is something called spiritual bypassing, or work bypassing. This is the idea, or the spiritual concept, that you don't need to do anything. You can do it all passively. It's been linked to the idea of being a light worker or anchoring light, and the idea that you don't really need to do any work as such because you're doing it on other dimensions and in other planes. I don't really agree with that. I think that we came here for very specific reasons, and it's been shown basically that we heal trauma and insecurities by facing them head on and doing the uncomfortable work. Sometimes it's known as shadow work or shadow integration. We very rarely heal things by doing nothing. It's the same kind of analogy as like if your bedroom was burning down, you wouldn't just do nothing and hope it heals itself, because if you did that, your whole house would burn down. You would directly go to the source of the fire and you would extinguish it if you could. And so when you have this the idea being promoted that you can heal trauma by simply ignoring it, I think that's very misleading, and I think it's going to lead a lot of people down the wrong path. They're going to get confused. The trauma is obviously not really going to be dealt with. It's just going to be kind of delayed and saved until later, and ultimately it's avoidable. By putting in the work and actually working on the trauma, for example, you can heal it, or you can at least move towards healing it, and then that's going to be much better for you, completely better for you, than ignoring it and living in kind of like a false sense of reality where you're almost like you're pretending it doesn't exist, and all that's really doing is delaying the pain. So just cut straight to the chase. There's a saying in business known as eat the frog, which means basically wake up in the morning and start with the most uncomfortable thing that you have to do, and then everything else is easier from that point. You've already eaten the frog. So just do that, It's easier said than done, but just go straight to the source of the problem and actually confront it and work on it instead of just ignoring it. And I know it's an easy idea to believe. It's a very comfortable and attractive idea, the idea that you don't need to focus or work on your trauma, because all you need to do is focus on your new timeline or your new reality, and suddenly it will all go away. Unfortunately, that's not the case. If that was the case, then we would already now be living in a spiritual utopia, but that simply isn't happening and hasn't happened yet. The next thing that I think can be toxic in New Age spirituality is the idea or ideas of focusing energy on symbols, and specifically symbols without knowing their true meaning. Symbols are a powerful language, right? Incredibly powerful. They go back to the dawn of history, and a lot of people are focusing their energy on symbols that they have no idea what they actually mean. No idea. And you can look, even a tiny bit of research into the most basic of symbols will show that a huge amount of the modern popular symbols that we have in the world today come from satanic, Luciferian, occult practices. They come from, that is the meaning and the origin of a lot of these symbols. And yet they are, in the case of many religions, they're worshipped under different names, under the false pretense that they are different symbols, when they're actually the same. They have the same meaning and the same energetic connection as a lot of the other satanic symbols. And the other danger is that you're giving your energy to an entity or an energy that you don't understand. So if you're going to focus on a symbol, or if you're going to have symbols involved in your life in a meaningful way, you need to make damn sure that you know what they mean, like truly understand what they mean and where they come from, because a lot of people don't. And I think that especially in New Age spirituality, it's so common to get, like you get a journal with certain symbols on, you get phone cases with symbols on, you get like drawings and depictions of the moon phases and stuff, and without understanding the history of a lot of the symbology here, you're giving your energy to entities that you really probably don't want to be giving your energy to. And yet there's this idea in New Age spirituality that it's almost like the idea that any symbol is good. It's almost like this weird idea that any symbol which is remotely spiritual or alternative is cool and trendy, when the reality is they're most of them are not, and if you knew the history of them, you probably wouldn't want to be concentrating your energy on those symbols. So that's just something to bear in mind. I'm not going to go into specifics, but just please research symbols if you're going to have any involvement with them. And another really eye-opening thing that I discovered, that I researched basically, is that subliminal and subconscious programming work better, obviously, when you don't know they're happening. Same thing is true with symbols. The connection, the subliminal energetic connection that happens, works better when you don't know what the symbol means. And so that's why a lot of these symbols are embedded in popular culture and media and propaganda, because it works better when you don't know they're there, or when you don't understand the meaning, or when you're not conscious of the symbol. So please be aware of that. Before I tell you the last one, make sure to check out my training and leave a comment letting me know what you think so far. And I'm also curious what you think is, for you is the most toxic area or aspect of New Age spirituality, or if you think I'm wrong. I will try and reply to everyone. Leave a comment now. The next one could even be an entire topic on its own, but I'm going to try and put it into this video, and that is the concept of merging with AI. The concept of merging with AI, otherwise known as transhumanism, and this is something that has been planned for a long time by the elites, and it has a very dark purpose and meaning behind it. They essentially want to take our soul, a spirit and consciousness, and merge it with AI, so it's completely controlled, manipulated and assimilated I should say, by AI. And this is to sever our connection with Source or with God, and there's many reasons they would want to do that, but I can't get into it in this video. But the point is, in New Age spirituality, a lot of people, a lot of authors and influencers and YouTubers and figures, right, seem to be very close with this agenda and this idea of merging our consciousness with AI. The idea of ascension through AI, or using technology to help ascension. This is all under the same umbrella of transhumanism, and is very, very, I would warn you heavily against that. And there's many reasons. Basically, without going too much into it, basically the Luciferian agenda and the Luciferian cult want to idolize intellect. That's their whole thing, the Illuminati and everything like this. They want to idolize the human mind and intellect. And they think by doing that they can override God or Source and kind of split away from needing to have God or the heart connection. So they think, and this happened with the Tower of Babel, right? They tried to build a tower that they thought was going to surpass God, and of course, look what happened, right? Now, whether or not that is historically true is beside the point. The point is, they believe it. They believe that by fusing our soul and consciousness with AI, they can override God and create a new reality where they are the gods and where intellect rules, right? This goes right back to Adam and Eve, when the whole idea of Lucifer tempting man with the idea of intellect or knowledge. Not that intellect is bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think intellect has its place, and a mind has its place in this world, but they want to essentially make it the god. They want intellect to be the dominant force, and more specifically, they want their intellect to be the dominant force, and us, essentially, the vast population, to be subservient to them. And of course, if we've all merged with AI, it's as simple as just programming us what they want us to do. Very, very easy at that point. Anyway, so it's very important to raise your vibrations and strengthen your connection to God and to Source, which is, we're all ultimately part of that. So if you want to learn more about how to do that, check out my vibrations training in the description, how to raise your vibrations, and leave a comment letting me know what you think. It's a bit of a controversial one, this one, and yeah, be respectful to each other in the comments, please, and I'll try and reply to everyone, and I'll see you next time.